I want to be able to cook on our Weber propane grill and our Blackstone on a long camping trip without having to change out these little propane tanks. But these little 1-pounders don't last long enough. You know, I'm not cooking hot dogs and beans after all. Sure, they're convenient for weekend camp trips, but we're living in our RV all summer long, so I need a different setup. So I asked my husband to come up with a different solution, and he did. Let's see what he found. Not only do we have a grill and a Blackstone, we also have a camp stove. It's easy if you want to carry these small tanks because you can just hook up one tank for each piece of equipment. But in order to keep going and just have a constant supply of propane, using a regular 20-pound tank or one of our little squatties is a way better solution. But we don't want to have to carry those big tanks, an individual tank for this and another one for this. Here's the thing. We don't use the camp stove very much at all. We use these two appliances a lot more. So I said, is there any way that we can take one larger propane tank that feeds both of these pieces of equipment that we use a lot more frequently, and then we can just still use the 1-pounder on the stove that we don't use that often. So he's going to show you what he found and how he hooked it up. We're on the back side of our table, and there's our Blackstone, and that is how it hooks up to a normal 1-pound propane cylinder. What we're going to do next is he's going to unscrew the 1-pound propane cylinder. We don't have to buy any extra equipment to hook up for the grill itself, for the Blackstone itself. Now he's hooking up a hose that has on one end a fitting that fits exactly into regular 1-pound propane cylinder camping cooking equipment. Now we're going to follow that hose around, and you're going to see that it is connected to this thing here, which is a Y, so that it can feed 2 different pieces of equipment. You can see this braided line goes all the way down, and it hooks up to our Weber grill. So we have both of those pieces of equipment running now off of this 20-pound, kind of ugly and old, but well-used propane tank. We don't leave that on the table. We just put it right under the table so it's nice and neat. This is a great system. It works really well. And if you don't need that much propane, then what we do on smaller, shorter trips, we take our little squatty. I'll line up the squatty, and you can see how the squatty measures up and how much room it takes compared to a regular 20-pound propane tank. And because we don't use our camp stove that often, it doesn't require a ton of propane. So a regular 1-pound propane tank is all we need for that. If you like cooking over your camp stove, I've got 10 easy recipes that you are going to love. I have a video on that. I'll leave a link for that in the description below. That's how we have that hooked up, and we have that at the end of the table because it fits there well, and we don't have to have it real close to these other 2 pieces of equipment that are running off of that Y valve. We use a lot more propane on some of our trips when we are camping with fire restrictions because we can't cook over a campfire and we can't use charcoal briquettes. I have an entire video on how to camp with fire restrictions. I'll leave a link for that video in the description below. When we first started doing this system, we only had one of those braided hoses, and we used it on the grill. And then we got a Blackstone. So that's when we really ran into the problem in deciding that we needed to be able to power 2 pieces of equipment this way. Because we wanted to run the second one, that's when we had to get the Y. Let me show you how this would be hooked up if we didn't have a second piece of equipment and if we didn't need that Y valve. If you're just connecting one piece of equipment to one propane tank, all you need is this one single hose. The way that it works is the one end connects directly to the 1-pound propane cylinder regulator, and the other end, as you follow this, goes all the way directly into the regular propane tank connection. That's it. It's only because we wanted to have both pieces of equipment running off of the one tank that then we had to buy the extra piece of equipment, and that is that Y valve. Yeah. So we're going to disconnect now the one piece of equipment, put on the Y valve, which we already have connected to our Weber grill. And now we're going to connect up the Blackstone hose. And now we're running 2 pieces of equipment off of 1 propane tank. That level indicator is super helpful, and it just came with the Y valve. If you want to know how to be able to determine how much propane you have in your tank without any equipment, I have a video that shows you exactly how to do that. I'll leave a link for that in the description below. He's going to test to make sure that the connections are good, and so we're going to start the grill and we're going to start the Blackstone.
Yeah, it's flowing.
We're running?
Yep.
And over here, we're starting the Blackstone.
They're both running.
One reason we really like using these larger regular barbecue propane tanks is because you can refill them and it's very affordable to do. I have a video on how to get propane at Costco. If you've never done it before, you might want to check that one out. I'll leave a link for that in the description below. The other reason that it's really nice to use these regular size barbecue grill propane tanks instead of the 1-pound cylinders that are disposable is you keep those disposable things out of the landfill, so it's a win-win. If you have any questions on equipment or recipes or camping or anything else, leave a comment in the description below. We would love to help you out.